Ricardo, welcome to the show.
And thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's get straight into it, Ricardo. You have a booming enterprise in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with Trio Jazz Club, which you were in right now, Marabella, Our Wine, Vespa Catering. How did you start all of this?
Gosh, that is a very long answer, so I'm gonna try to keep it brief. Um, I I kind of fell into the restaurant business. Um, 26 years ago, I had a career in healthcare that a lot of people know about, but I'll keep it brief. I was a mental health counselor at Sioux Valley Hospital back then, and basically our hours were kind of switched up at the hospital. My wife and I were pregnant with our first child, Dante, and she was a nurse in pediatrics. She had to go on bed rest. And, we come from a generation, in college, we both worked two or three jobs, to pay for college, go to school full time, all that fun stuff. So I'm like, well, all of a sudden I have 4 days off a week at the hospital. My wife's on bed rest. I, I'll pick up an extra job. So I asked her what I should do, and she's like, I'm not sure. What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So it was actually my wife's sister, Jackie, who suggested, she's like, "What about that Italian restaurant in town called Spezia?" And I said, "Well, I don't know
Mhm.
anything about restaurants." And she said, "Well, you're Italian." I'm like, "Well, that's not a prerequisite. That doesn't make me, you know everything about restaurants. Not that I needed to, but anyway, I went down there, met with the manager. He interviewed me, and the second he said, "You're Italian." I said, "Yeah." I said, I was born in Italy. I'm fluent in Italian." And he goes, "You're hired." I said, "What's with you, What's with you people? It's like you've never seen an Italian before in South Dakota." And he's like, "We haven't." Um, so yeah, I started working there part time as a server on weekends. I was full time at the hospital during the week, and I got to the point where I started dreading going to the hospital only because I
Mhm.
knew that everybody that was there, every patient, wasn't there by choice. They had to be there. They were forced to be there. They didn't have another choice but to be there. And at the restaurant, it was the opposite. Everybody wanted to be there. Everyone was celebrating something, a first date, 50th date, anniversaries, business meetings, whatever it was. People were happy to be there and they were choosing to be there. And I fell in love with the restaurant business. And as timing would have it, about 6 months later, a manager position came open, and I said to my wife, I said, "If I don't take this, I'm going to regret it." And she said, "I support you." And that was it. I took a manager position back in 2000 at the old Spezia on 26th and Western, and never looked back. Left healthcare forever.
Wow, wow, what a journey. And then so from there, Ricardo, you were at Spezia, then you kind of navigated within the food beverage industry for a while before ultimately starting Our Wine, which was your first endeavor. Talk about uh,
Correct.
it takes a lot of courage to start your own business. What led to you actually wanting to go out on your own, take that leap of faith, and build something that was your own?
Yeah, I had this idea of a wine bar uh, way back then, 25 years ago. And it was just one of those, it's one of those dreams that you kind of hold on to and it stays with you. And of course, it's all about timing. It's all about opportunity. Um, and the last venture I had before we opened our own business, I was the VP of marketing and sales at Fernson Brewing. And that was a complete startup. I mean, I was there from the ground up before we even had a logo finalized, before any of the tanks were at the actual warehouse. Blake and Derek were brewing beer in a garage. So to be a part of a business that literally started with nothing, no one had ever heard of the brand, no one had ever had any of the products, and to see it grow, I was there for the first 4 years of the life of the business, and to see it grow to 5 states of distribution and having you know, everyone, you walk around and you see people wearing Ferntz t-shirts and Ferntz hats and
Mhm.
talking about local craft beer in Sioux Falls and kind of putting them on the map. I was like, you know what? Uh, w- Why aren't we doing this for ourselves with that idea I had 20 years ago? And so my wife and I sat down and yeah, it does require a lot of faith and a lot of courage. But yeah, we started looking at spots downtown, and and realized after looking at several spots that just weren't the right fit or the right vibe or the right size or the right location. It's all those little factors that go into it. But we realized that Prairieberry had moved out of their building on 8th Street and it was sitting there vacant. And it was just about turnkey for us, which is a really good position to be in when you start your very first business.
Yeah.
It really cut down on our initial capital expenses. And, we started a concept that was a little not foreign to people. I mean, people are familiar with wine, but not a wine bar. And so our focus was a really well curated wine list with a lot of education behind it, with really knowledgeable staff, including obviously myself as a sommelier. And then we started with a very small menu with it was like two salads, two charcuterie boards, and panini because we just again minimizing our costs we found two panini makers in the kitchen that we just moved into this space, and we're like, all right, we're using those. What are we going to do with it? Well, let's make panini,
Hmm.
which isn't a typical dinner item because we were only open for dinners at that point. But it was just something because I knew we had to have some food because not all wines are um, meant to be drunk alone. They're food friendly for a reason because of acidity levels and lots of different other things that go into food and wine pairing. And we wanted to educate people on that as well. And so the joke now is, in 2018, when we opened our wine bar, it was a wine bar that happened to have some food. And now fast forward almost 7 years, which I can't believe I'm saying that, 7 years. Now we're a restaurant that happens to be a wine bar because the menu has just evolved and exploded really shortly after COVID.
Yeah. So then, Ricardo, tell the story of how you went from our wine to then expanding to Marabella, then to Bricks. I forgot about Bricks earlier. Bricks to
Yeah, I can't
Trio
forget about
to
bricks.
yeah.
That's your favorite. And don't ask me what my favorite is. It's like you can't pick your favorite child, you know?
No, you can't. You can't. And yeah, Hank makes Bricks an incredible experience. So shout out to Hank.
I think you touch on something really important is that a lot of people think that, you know, beautiful setting and colors and seating and lighting and, the natural light and windows, all of this obviously lends to creating ambiance, but what really creates ambiance is people. That
Mm,
is without a doubt what we've learned over the years because, at our wine bar, we didn't change a thing in there after Prairie moved out. We could, it's this beautiful, all quartzite walls. We had tables and chairs that had been left behind. We utilized those. We left the bar where it was. It all looked the same. And we had so many people come in and go, gosh, it looks the same, but it feels different.
mm,
And I'm like, it's because of the people. And nothing against Prairie. They had their own business model and their own culture, but we brought our culture of hospitality. Our mission statement across all of our locations, including our catering company, is enter as friends, leave as family. And what I really wanted to use was when you're here, your family, but that's copyrighted by a giant chain that shall not be mentioned in our restaurants. You're nodding your head because I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yep, I do.
So yeah, but we really feel that strongly that when you walk in, you feel like family. I mean, you walk in and Hank and you are hugging like brothers, and that's
Hmm.
that's what we want with every single one of our guests. So yeah, so our wine bar in 2018, we were open for about 18 months. COVID hits, we survived COVID. Thank thanks to God, thanks to our family, but more really, Sioux Falls as a community, they came out and supported us, and they would verbalize, "Hey, we're here supporting you now because we want you to be here when this thing is over." And of
Mm,
course, at that time, it was so uncertain. Who knew if and when we were ever going to reopen the dining room because we were only doing to-go food. I was selling to cases of wine to go. It was just myself and Marybeth, my wife, who, by the way, is the reason we have the culture that we do. You've been greeted by her many times at lots of our locations,
yeah.
and when she's in a room, and she makes every single person that walks in feel like they're the most important person in the room, and she does with everybody. And that's just one of the the keys, even to just serving in general, is how do you make one table feel like they're the only table in the entire restaurant, even though there's 100 other people here?
Hmm.
And that's I feel like that's what we do really well. So yeah, survive COVID. Like I said, the menu evolved rapidly at our wine bar. We had a record year after COVID and another record year, and all of a sudden, uh, we had thoughts early on, maybe, 5, 10 years from now, what if we open an R wine bar and kitchen on the south side of town or the east side or whatever? We get requests all the time to open other restaurants in different
Hmm.
parts of town. And then we were approached by a friend of ours who happens to be a partner in Washington Square, showed us a space on the corner that had been sitting empty since they built the building in 2017. And so this is in 2021-ish. Um, and we looked at it. And of course, I don't know about you, but when I walk into a space, and it was just a shell. So it was just a
Hmm.
big rectangle with a couple of, obviously big concrete columns that couldn't be moved. But I immediately, you just see the vision. I immediately could envision, okay, that's where the kitchen's going to go. That's where the bar's going to go. That's where, oh, we're going to build these arches, things that we didn't know even if we could do. But yeah, we, again, a lot of faith, a lot of praying with my wife because, she and I own our wine bar and kitchen 100%. And I want to make sure that she was on board with opening another restaurant because then the challenge becomes how are we going to be in two places at the same time? Because people,
Hmm.
one of our differentiating factors is that people get to see us as the owners of the restaurant, shaking hands and bussing plates, doing dishes. I mean, we're hands on. We still are to this day. Um, Now the difference is, we have four physical locations and a catering company. Luckily, we have three boys that all work for us. We have my wife's sister, who's the hostess at Marabella, first person you see when you walk in, two nieces, two nephews, a cousin. Like we have this very, very not just do we want our guests to feel like family, but they're going to talk to a family member no matter what, whenever they come into any one of our locations. So yeah, so we jumped into Marabella. That it was our first full build out where we built out the kitchen and the bar, and, ordered all the furniture, designed it the way we want, which is a lot of pressure. You would think it's easier to design a restaurant from scratch, but there are so many little things that go into like you have no one to blame but yourself. Like when you move into a space that was already built out, you can retrofit and tweak things and make it work to the best uh, that you can. But when you're designing it from nothing, it's like we better get this right because I'd hate to have it all built out. And in fact, we still talk about this. Oh, we should have made dry storage, another foot. We could have taken another foot in this direction. And again, those are just things that you learn along the way. But I think we did a pretty good job with Marabella. We get a lot of compliments on the build out and the feel, and it feels like a big city restaurant right in the heart of downtown Sioux Falls across from the pavilion. Um, uh, and I should mention, so Brick's Wine Bar happened before Marabella, because once we committed to doing the build out at Marabella, the building owners said, "Hey, the location two doors down in the same building decided to close their business and that's set up for a wine bar." So initial reaction was, no, we're not interested. We need to focus on building another restaurant. And we still have our wine bar we have to operate at the same time. And so they showed us bricks, or at that time it was a different wine bar. And we walked in and we're like, all right, we commit. This will just take one person to manage, just get new
Hmm.
inventory in. We didn't have to buy any furniture, nothing. I mean, we did eventually, but just to get it up and open. So we opened Bricks in May of 2022, finished the build out, and got Marabella open November of 2022. And that was a point where it was kind of a game changer because now all of a sudden we had this hallway that connects Marabella and Bricks. And so
Hmm.
starting in November, because up until that point, Bricks was offering like again a charcuterie board, a caprese salad, little things that we could bring over from our wine bar because that was our only functional kitchen. Well, now we have a full kitchen in Marabella, and we offer the full Marabella menu at Bricks, and that caught on really quick. That you could go to Bricks for this really intimate, elegant, elevated, great wine. We have a $1,000 wine cellar in there. You get all that, Plus, you get access to the Marabella menu. So you can order a pizza, pasta, steak, desserts, whatever you want over there. So that's, I think it's still one of it's kind of a best kept secret. And the only reason I say kind of is because it's busy all the time, which is a good thing.
Yes.
But it is a nice, quiet place, especially right after work. We open at 4 o'clock. We get a lot of people, a lot of regulars that Hank has kind of built this clientele
Mhm.
around being able to sit at the bar with a glass of wine and an appetizer and have a really meaningful conversation with Hank.
Yeah, the people who know about bricks and
Yeah.
frequent it often.
Hmm.
Me being one of those people. But Ricardo, I want to focus on the people aspect that you talked about when you moved into our wine for the first time and people feeling a difference. Um, how do you develop that culture? I mean, like you said, Mary Beth is one of the I have to say is one of the most humble, coolest people on the planet. I love her so much. And
Hmm.
you're right, she does make you feel as though you're the only person in the room of 100. But how do you scale that up across the whole organization?
Uh, so she is the head of HR, which
Mhm.
was just one of those titles that we just kind of, hey, by the way, since you're really good with not just customer facing, but with staff facing. I mean, if there's no time for drama. And the restaurant industry in general, stereotypically, has a lot of drama that happens, whether it's between servers or it's a server and a cook or the kitchen staff that has, issues. There's no time for drama. Mary Beth is one of those people, she deals with things head on. Like I'm more of a, hey, let's get together and very finesse. Let's finesse this resolution between these two people who are having a conflict. She goes in and says, hey, I heard you said this about her, and that's inappropriate, and you need to apologize. And it's just blah, but that she's
Mhm.
so good at that. And she still makes people feel like, hey, this conflict got resolved, and we're all going to move forward together. But yes, she's very direct, which you need in an organization this big. We have over 100 employees now across our five businesses. Um, so yeah, so we took a lot of our own family values and we put it into our core values as a company.
Mhm.
Um, and the basis of everything is kindness. So we actually came up with an acronym for KIND. So everything's based on being kind to each other as staff, kind to our guests, obviously, from a hospitality perspective, because people, when you come in, you can tell when a server is being kind to you or when a server is being, whether they're rushed or they're preoccupied with something else or they're stressed because they have 10 other tables or whatever. It's we want you, our guests, to feel like you're in a guest at our home. And we love when people say that. We're like, "Oh, every time I come in, it feels like I think you've even said this. When you show up to Bricks, you feel like you're walking into one of our house parties
Mhm.
and
Yes.
everyone goes, Will's here.
Mhm.
Come on in, Will. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so kind. So the K stands for keep learning. We want and of course these core values we hire and fire by. It's what we when we do reviews of employees. This is we go through these five things. Uh, are you showing kindness, not just to our guests but to your fellow staff? Uh, okay, so keep learning. Are you a person that is self motivated? Are you always looking for things to learn? We learn. I mean, that's one of the challenges we do for ourselves is we try to learn something every single day. We don't know it all, even though we own all the businesses and everyone comes to us. Um, but you should be a lifelong learner, especially as an entrepreneur. So yeah, so we expect our staff to always be challenging themselves to continue learning. Um, so that's K. I is integrity and honesty, and that is one of Mary Beth's uh, greatest qualities is she's brutally honest
Mhm.
and she's always the same person to absolutely everybody, and we expect our staff to have that type of integrity. And again, and we call people out on this when someone says, if someone says it could be something as trivial as not rolling silverware, which is a common side work. Anybody who's listening to this that's been in the restaurant business, you know that it's tedious side work, but silverware has to get rolled for the next day. And when someone skips out on that, then it just creates more stress for either the closer or the opener the next day. There's so many, it's kind of a domino effect. But something as simple as that. And so we go head on and say to the, hey, did you close last night? Yes. Did you roll 50 silverware? And if they lie, that's a huge red flag for us. Because if you're going to
Hmm.
lie about something as trivial as rolling silverware, what else could you possibly be lying about? So yeah, so we are big on, we'd rather have people be straight up and honest and say, yep, it was me. Take ownership of that and move forward. The N, we kind of got a little creative. The N is unreasonable hospitality. So
Mm-hmm.
UN, unreasonable hospitality is expected of all of our staff. There's a great book called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Hmm.
Um, it's an incredible book, and it's an incredible mindset to have that we empower all of our staff to not only go above and beyond, but go beyond that. Like what could we possibly do for a guest? And it's all about opportunities that present themselves and to show them that we'll do anything, even if it's unreasonable for a restaurant to do this for you, we're going to do it. And so there's
Hmm.
lots of examples from, you know, me running over to our wine bar to grab specific glassware for a beer, and beer's not even like our thing, but it was meaningful to this guest to have this goblet that was meant for this beer that he was drinking. And I ran over there, brought it back, and the entire table was like jaw drop. They're like, did you just get those? How did you get those glasses? I'm like, don't worry about it. I just want to make sure you had a pleasant evening. Oh, and by the way, I have an extra glass for you to take home. So that way you can always have that beer in that right glass. And they were
Mm.
just blown away. But those are little stories that carry on. They tell everybody about their experiences, what we're willing to do that maybe others aren't. Um, that's KIN, and D is unique. I love this, but it stands for duck,
Mhm.
DUCK. I think we've talked about this, but and this is
Mhm.
from another one of authors that I absolutely love is John DeJulius. He wrote a book called Secret Service years and years years ago. He talks about being a duck, which is when you picture a duck kind of swimming across a pond, they're just kind of gliding and it's peaceful and serene, graceful. But what you don't see underneath the surface is their little legs going, 1,000 miles an hour. And so we challenge our staff to act like ducks at all times, meaning on the surface, we are composed, we're cool, calm, collected. The worst thing you can do at the host stand when someone shows up and they say they're here for a reservation and you look at the list and you don't see their name, the worst thing you can do is, oh, I don't see your name, and that level of anxiety and panic, when you show it on your face, it transfers immediately to the guest. And now all of a sudden the guest is going, well, what do you mean you don't have my name? What do you mean I'm not on the list? I made the reservation. Looking in the phones, it causes all this unnecessary stress. And so if a host instead composes themselves as a duck, they don't see the name on the list and they go, oh, yep, we're working on getting you in. We're waiting for a couple tables to get up. We'll get you in a few minutes. And the guest goes, okay, great. Because now they're confident that we have them on the list. Meanwhile, underneath the surface, we're going, okay, where are we going to put this five top that just walked in that we weren't expecting to come in? And so we go and do that kind of behind the scenes. So those are our five core values. And every manager, we have managers at our specific locations that we meet with weekly for an hour and a half meeting every single week. And then we have breakout meetings for an hour each at specific locations so that we just continue to, um, kind of it's that repetition of these are our core values. These are our core values. Issues that come up, we're solving them based on these core values. And then
Mhm.
so it's because flows from us down to our managers, down to our staff.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Because we
focusing
can't
on
be everywhere. Yeah.
no, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, because we can't be everywhere all the time. We
Right.
try to be we give I call it an illusion that because people are like, I just saw you at our wine bar, I just saw you at Bricks, and I'm like, good, the illusion is working. So we try to kind of keep ourselves always moving in all different locations that people see us everywhere, but we can't be everywhere all the time. So we have to have managers that we really trust and are trained well, and we have constant communication. Communication is the biggest thing that we work on every single day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, lots of things there, but the act like the duck one is my favorite of your core values. And Ricardo, after you came up with that, I use that in a lot of different scenarios. I use it when talking with other clients about potential core values. I use it in my football business podium during our big events in Miami every year, where it's like you got to act like a duck, like you said, act cool, calm, and collected under the on the front end, in front of the clients, in front of the customers. But on the back end, we're stressing out. There's some anxiety there. We're trying to figure out logistics. But it's what the people perceive. And if you can just show that you are calm, that transmits to them, and it's magical because things can be super chaotic on the back end, but as long as the customer sees the peaceful
Yeah,
movement, that means
absolutely.
everything.
Yeah, there was a customer that was in last Saturday, and no, 2 Saturdays ago, and I saw him last week, and I said, "Hey, did you enjoy your?" Because saw him briefly in the bar. I asked him if he enjoyed his dinner. He said, "Yeah, no, everything was great. Oh, it was the best salmon I ever had. It was this, and that." I'm like, "Oh, well, good. I'm glad you didn't notice that we had a line cook walk out in the middle of shift and this and that. Like there were like five things." And he's a business person, and we know each other well. And he's like, "Oh, I never would have known." I'm like, "Good. That's the way we want
Yes.
it, right?"
Yes. Your core values are being lived out at that point.
Hmm.
Um, and so, in regards to core values as a whole, I mean, at EOS we talk about having a handful of rules to help govern the organizations. For you guys, it's those core values. It's the kindness, it's the honesty, integrity, it's the act like a duck, it's the unreasonable hospitality. How have you found, has business become easier for you, and like you said, kind of rolling out your guys' expectations? Is that easier when operating from just these handful of rules?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it goes back to we can't be everywhere all the time. I think it was, back when it was our wine bar, we were there. Marybeth and I were there every single day. And so it was easier back then, obviously, less staff, but all at one location. We had constant communication every single day with servers, busters, bartenders, cooks, dishwashers. It didn't matter what position. We had physical and verbal contact with them at all times. And so they could see us live out our core values. Because back then we didn't have anything written down. We didn't have a mission statement written down. We didn't have any of that. We just were ourselves and treated everyone like family and kind of worked out from there. But then we saw very quickly as we added locations, we're like, okay, how do we get, you know, uh, Will, who's our manager bartender here at the Jazz Club, when he's here alone and he's got two servers and there's a busser coming in and there's 50 guests coming in for a show. How do we get him to keep those core values at the forefront of his mind when he's interacting with guests, interacting with staff, managing staff, interacting with staff? I mean, there's all those little things that happen when we're not here. So for sure, having but EOS is one of the best decisions we ever made was to really kind of get us organized. And what we've realized is, it's that constant communication that I was alluding to earlier that we work on every single day. And after going through it for a year, we've kind of renewed that goal or that rock. And it's a daily one for us. It's not just increased communication; it's increased concise, clear communication. So we're being even more specific about it's not just communication, blah blah blah. Let's be intentional as possible with our communication because that's just going to make us even better.
Yeah, totally. So then in regards to that communication, how important was for you? I know the accountability chart in particular was pretty powerful for you guys in regards to getting those roles and responsibilities clearly mapped out for the organization. Touch on that and what that did for you guys.
Yeah, I think that it kind of made us realize who we had because we think we had a lot of the right people, but maybe not the right seats. And
Mm,
so creating that accountability chart really made us realize, okay, we do need these kind of layers of it's not layers of management because we really have one layer of management, and then restaurants are a little bit different because you have a huge pool of servers because a lot of them are part-time, some are full-time. So there's always, kind of rotating people in and out. And again, that makes it more challenging when you're communicating. Like if you have to communicate something to the entire staff, it's not as easy as have a pre-shift meeting with staff on a Wednesday because the next day it could be six new people that didn't work on Wednesday because of the way schedules work. So we're constant. It's just constant every single day communicating. Um, but yeah, that accountability chart really kind of opened our eyes to let's really see what people are excelling at, and let's lean on those strengths. And that's how we came up with having a director of operations and having executive chefs being in charge of the kitchens with general managers that work alongside them. And then, of course, all the other staff kind of flows individually to each restaurant.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, and it seemed like it was just a pivotal time when you were scaling from that one to five different enterprises. When you don't have that way to manage all in a in a symbiotic way, it can just get really messy really fast, right?
Absolutely. No, yeah, that messy is a good word for for people that are, and I'm sure you've seen this metaphor before. I can't remember if it was with you or uh, I think it was with a different operating system where you've got, people in a boat and everyone's rowing in a different direction, right? We want
Hmm.
everyone rowing together, uh, timed as perfectly as possible so that we can make the most movement and move that needle. Um, but yeah, no, we've got great KPIs right now on our scorecard that we review every single week, and then twice a week, obviously, with different meetings. That's been really, really good because it's just, again, it's when you see it once a week, it just brings it to the forefront of your mind as a manager. Like, oh, how can I wonder if I can impact uh, our labor costs today because it's a little bit slower or the rush was earlier and it's dying off sooner. So I'm going to send, a bartender home and cut two cooks. And when they see the fruits of those labors reflect in the scorecard the next week, it empowers them even more. And that's we really want to empower our managers to make those key decisions and not just rely on us and not just call us and go, hey, what do you think? So I think what's happened is, and not that we want our managers to call us less, but I think that's happened naturally, organically, that they're relying on us less to make really good decisions. And they also know they can discern between, hey, this requires a phone call to the owners type of decision versus, doing it to check with them to see if we should, you know, mop tonight. No, just make that decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It's such a powerful thing when you run your business on data. When you go from running it on subjective information, to your point with the managers, maybe they felt like things were going great, but then
Right.
they really didn't go that great. But when you have data, when you are tracking the right numbers and the right information, it takes all guessing away from it. You can make really powerful, quick decisions when that information is right in front of you. So I love to hear even that they're calling you less because that the
Yeah.
information is in front of them, right? They don't need
Yeah.
your input.
Right.
So
Well, I think you might have said this to us that especially family-owned businesses and just business in general that are owned by entrepreneurs, a lot of decisions are made emotionally or because of you're passionate about one thing or two things or whatever it is, and that's how you make decisions. And so we really have tried to take the emotion out of it. Again, to your point, and let the data kind of drive those decisions. But again, restaurants are a little bit different. We do have to make emotional decisions sometimes, whether it's
mhm.
with a staff decision or guest relations or what have you. Because we really want, I mean, how do you teach someone to be us, right? And see the business from our perspective and be us to the guests. I think it starts with our family. That's the closest thing to us. So to see one of our boys come up to you and give you a hug, and I'm like, all right, that's exactly what we would have done if Will showed
Mhm.
up, but we weren't there that night. But one of our kids were, or Hank, or sister-in-law, or whatever. And so now our goal, well, it's ongoing, but we have really, really good staff members that are nowhere like, near related to us, but we adopt everybody, and we
Mhm.
hope that they do kind of embody uh, our level of hospitality. And we have so many servers that are so good at it, making people feel special and having even created personal relationships with people and giving them a hug when they get there and they sit down and they just I love hearing guests go, well, hey, Lucas, what are we drinking tonight? and they just let Lucas decide what bottle of wine they're going to have because
Hmm.
he has just developed that kind of trust with so many of our guests. Uh, and not just to point Lucas out, we have loads of them at Marybella and our wine bar and at Trio and Bricks.
Yes, yes, yes. When rewinding back to the point about the rowing the boat analogy and how you and I can be on the same team, and if I'm rowing a little bit this way and you're rowing even just a little bit this way, we can be working really damn hard and going nowhere, right? Hence the importance of having an awesome vision, a captivating vision that the entire organization can get behind. Now, I know you guys have an unbelievable vision for where you guys want to go over the long term. Would you mind talking about your long term aspirations for the
Yeah,
restaurants?
maybe. Um, no, we have big, hairy, audacious goals. BHAGs. We talk about them all the time.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, we've all since day one we've said we want to be the top Italian restaurant, not just in the state but in the region. Um, we want to hit certain sales goals. We want even our staff, we encourage them and we also pay for our staff to study and pass their level one sommelier exam. Now we're up to 11, I think, people
Wow.
uh, on our staff that are level one somms. Uh, and we have a goal that 100% of our staff are going to be sommeliers. Like
Wow.
that's going to happen no matter what. Like that's we are hitting this goal by this time. 100% of our staff is going to be level one and we're here to help. We do weekly wine trainings. We help them with practice tests, questions, and teaching people about geography because there's a lot on geography and winemaking methods. And I don't know, it's just something that we're passionate about. Um, but again, we know the big picture is imagine you walk in and you know that any single person, whether it's a server or a brand new server that just started, you can ask them any question about wine and they will answer it very knowledgeably. So we're
Hmm.
we're we're excited. We're getting closer. Every it's all about baby steps. We've said this forever. Yeah, I love the way baby steps work because we just set little goal. Let's get two. Or right this month I'm focusing on two different people. I want to get them to take their level one som exam, and then at the end of the year we're going to look back and go, oh wow, look at those baby steps all added up to. We have 20 new people that just passed their level. I just I love the power of baby steps, or just that 2 degree, um, pointing 2 degrees off because right now it doesn't seem like we're going anywhere. But then you look back and you're like, wow, we're this much away from where we started just by changing something 1 or 2 degrees.
Yes. So, segueing slightly, Ricardo, you and Mary Beth have an unbelievable ability to remember people's names. I'm blown away. I'm blown away when I see you guys come to a restaurant and you're just spouting off people's names, and I'm like, you guys, how do you do it? I mean, like, give me some advice.
I have no idea. I wish I could. I don't know. It's always. I mean, for me personally, it's always been like that. And I think for Mary Beth, she had a similar upbringing where we had parents that just would greet people like old school, like you just greet people, and if you don't know who they are, you'd say, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you. I'm so and so. What's your name?" Like, oh, just showing a genuine interest in other people. And so I don't know if we learned it when we were young, but yeah, we're always asking people's names. I think it's one of the. Uh, I mean, you know how sweet it is when someone remembers your name or calls you by name. And I know it sounds like, sales 101. Oh, make sure you use the client's name at least 3 times in the course of a conversation. None of that goes through our heads. For us, it's very organic. I pride myself on hearing someone's name once in passing and then not seeing them for a month and they come in and I go, "Oh, hi Janet. Good to see you again."
Hmm.
And I love seeing the look in their faces like, how do you remember my name? And I'm like, yeah, no, you came in with Joe and Joe is a professor at USF and I almost kind of maybe that's how I remember. It's just like an association thing.
Yeah,
Um,
it has to be because
but
you're.
I can't tell you how I don't know. And Mary Beth is good, but there are so many times that she'll like whispering, "Hey, who's sitting at the end of the bar? What's it? Is it
Mhm.
Michael?" I'm like, "It's so and so." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, that's right, that's right." And then so we kind of, well, we had the advantage. There's two of us, so we do that a lot because I'll say to her, I'm like, "Oh gosh, what's that person's name with the baby?" If they have a baby, guaranteed, Mary Beth will never forget a baby's name. Like every
Mm.
baby that comes in, we have like a regulars that are babies, and by babies I mean they're like less than a year old, and they come in. Of course, the parents bring them in, but it's all about the baby. And kind of same thing with dogs. We have a lot of dog people that come in and they're regulars, and we greet the dog before we greet the owner. And everyone laughs and people love that their dog are recognized. And I don't know. And even something as simple as a dog. So, and this again, a tribute to Mary Beth. We were buying, generic dog biscuits just to have just to have treats just in case a dog would come in and sit on the patio. And one day, Mary Beth just goes, throw all the dog biscuits away. That's not on brand for us. Why would we buy cheap dog biscuits? Nothing we do is cheap or inexpensive. We need to be on brand. And so she started asking dog owners if we could give them a slice of fresh mozzarella. And
Mm.
that's like become a hit. Now we have dogs that literally pull their owners to one of our restaurants because they know they're getting like high-end treats. Like so much so that one of the dog owners was like, "Yeah, thanks for getting my dog hooked on fresh mozzarella. Now I got to keep mozzarella at home because they're expecting that treat at home." Those are just little things that mean so much to so many, and it differentiates us from every other place that you can get a dog biscuit or you know uh, what does Starbucks do? They do little whipped cream or something,
Oh,
the
like a
pup
pup
cups.
cup? Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Which I think is really cute. I like to take my dogs there. Um,
Yeah.
but no, yeah, it's those little things. But yeah, remembering names, there's no secret formula. I'm sure you can look up. There is a way, but I think for me personally, it's associating that name with either someone else I know or where they're from or what they do for work or what booth I saw them in last or what table they were sitting. Because that's the other fun thing to do too is, oh yeah, I remember last time you were here, you were sitting at the end of the bar with, you know, someone who's wearing sunglasses because it was bright out and they're like, how do you remember that? And
Hmm.
again, I don't know. It's not necessarily a photographic memory. It's an experience memory. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, put it this way, it comes in really handy in this industry because who doesn't like to be? I mean, think about the show Cheers.
Hmm.
Everyone wants to be Norm. Everyone wants the feeling of everyone remembered me, everyone recognizes me. I feel important. I feel safe. Like those are all the things that we want our guests to feel.
I feel like I feel like I'm famous when I walk into your guys' restaurants. It is the best feeling in the world,
That's good.
and obviously it keeps me coming back. Beyond the fact that you guys are like family, so um, yeah, it gets back to unreasonable hospitality. The remembering people's names, the mozzarella for dogs. It's going above and beyond, the average hospitality standards, which is why you guys are so successful. And it's so cool to see, Ricardo. Um, Segueing to your family, you've got so much family involved in the business. What does that mean to you to have your your sons, your wife, your extended family, nephews, nieces, cousins, all involved in this business, helping you guys to grow, helping you guys to provide this top-notch service? What does that mean to you?
It's I mean it's humbling. We get so many people that they go, "Oh, is that your son?" I'm like, "Yep, that's my oldest. Oh, there goes my middle son," and I'm pointing out all these different family members and they're like, uh you should my son would never work with me. Like I get a lot of that, like, oh I could never work with my family. And it's not we're that much different. I mean, yeah, do we have disagreements? Do we have arguments? Yeah, we're as dysfunctional as everyone else. But yeah, we're very, very thankful that our kids want to work with us and they want to make a career out of this. I think they've seen what Mary Beth and I have built over the years, and then to see our extended family join in on it and really be a part of the growth, uh, especially at Marybeth and Bricks. Uh, we're thrilled. Like we're thrilled that like we never would have like again 5 years ago we never would have guess that we'd have this many family members working for us. Well, I should say working for us, working together with us, because it really is a collaboration. They all have the same goal in mind, and I think having family makes them that much more sensitive and protective of our business. Yeah, they're basically, and again, an embodiment of us when we're not here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it's just so cool to see from the outside, and I mean that's what makes Marabella Arwine Bricks Trio. That's what makes you guys who you are. Is you walk in as friends and you leave as family, and it's so rare. I think in the industry across the world for that to actually be the case. I mean, you feel like you're in Italy, like.
That's what we want. Yeah, yeah, good. We want to
Mm,
transport you to anywhere you want to be. But of course, Italy is my original, birthplace and original home. And even when we immigrated to Boston, Massachusetts, I grew up in a very Italian neighborhood, very Italian. It was all Italian all the time in our house when we spoke Italian. My grandmother, my mom's mom even lived with us. So to have my little Nona, she was about 4'8", and she was just cook all day. That's all she did. And so I was around really good food uh, my entire life. So yeah, so to be able to replicate that again, going back to we want people to feel like, and people verbalize it all the time. They're like, I feel like we're like in your home, but it's your
mhm.
restaurant, and that means that's the best compliment we can get.
Absolutely. So, Ricardo, just a couple more questions. What would be your advice to someone out there who had aspirations to start their own restaurant? What would be your advice to them in getting started to open something up?
Um, Gosh, that's a really good question. I think first and foremost is, a lot of people say you have to have a clear vision. Well, you're really never going to have 100% clear vision when you're first starting out. I think A, have something you're passionate about. Uh, B, I think pick a lane. That's been really important for us. It was to pick our lane and stay in it. People ask us every year, "Hey, why aren't you doing Burger Battle?" For downtown Sioux Falls in January. And I'm like, because we don't do burgers, and we're not going to start now. We're not going to do it for a month for a battle. We're going to stay in our lane. And guess what? Every January we get the same comments. After the first week of January, people come in and they go, "Thank you for not doing burgers. We were craving pasta or a steak or your tiramisu or whatever it is that isn't a burger." And nothing against Burger Battle. I think it's a great, great event. I think DTSF does a great job of promotions. Um, but it's just not the one for us. For example, this month in March, we are going to do Mash Madness. They created a new category for craft cocktails and NA cocktails, so we're participating with that in those categories at Marabella. And of course, all the what do you call them? The block parties during the summer right across the street from our wine bar. Love those. Um, yeah, we love being downtown and we love being involved with DTSF for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I guess I digress. Your question about an aspiring restaurateur, like I said, yeah, make sure. I think beyond like we met, and this happened a year or two ago. We had a bartender that she had aspirations of owning her own bar and restaurant, and she asked us if she could sit down with us, ask a few questions. We were like, yeah, of course. Like we're accessible, we're available to all of our staff, even if it means losing a good bartender. But if they're going to start their own, like we'll go support it. Like we love people that are looking for the next step in their career. And so we sat down with her, and the first thing she said was, "Well, this is my idea for three different restaurant concepts, and I know exactly who I'm going to hire for a director of operations and a bar manager, and this and that and this." And I said, "Okay, stop. When you open up, first of all, you need to focus on one concept. Again, this goes back to staying, like pick a lane and stay in it with that one
Hmm.
concept. You can put the other things on your back burner because as you grow, just like we have, opportunities will come. If it's the right timing, if it's financially makes sense, then you open another location, maybe with a different concept. But right now, focus on one. And by the way, director of operations, bar manager, janitor, cook, dishwasher, those are all your titles. Like you have to be willing to do absolutely everything because then it really becomes about how do you replace that one hat. You're wearing 17 different hats, so how do you start replacing one hat at a time? and oh, let's get in a really good dishwasher that we trust that's going to make sure everything's clean and put away the way we were doing it. Let's make sure we hire a bartender that knows how to make drinks the way we know how to make mix drinks. Uh, and so on and so forth. And of course, like I said, we've grown to 5 different businesses. So now we have a director of operations that it can take a lot of those operational stuff, financial reporting, uh, oversight of all our kitchens and all of our managers. Like that's what we were spending a lot of time doing on a daily basis. And now he's taking that off our plate. So we can really kind of focus on the big picture and manage our businesses the way it is. And people ask us all the time, hey, what's next? What's next? There's nothing next planned at the moment. I always say at the moment because you know, you know me. I'm always looking.
Hmm.
Um,
Visionary,
but no,
typical visionary.
I know, and I shouldn't. And then thank God I have Marybeth because she's the grounding person in the relationship. She's the one that says, really, or why would we, open another place? But you know me, we're driving down the street and I see a cool old building that's vacant, and I go, that would make a really cool XYZ. And then of course she's like, no. So luckily she said yes to a jazz club. That's our newest addition. We opened,
Yes.
gosh, last July. So what's that? 8 months, and it's getting busier and busier. We just implemented a new reservation ticketing system. We are absolutely ecstatic about this.
That's fantastic. And you're sitting in the jazz club right now, which is so
Sitting in it right
cool.
now. Yeah, you can
Yes.
see kind of some of the drum kit on this side, the baby grand piano we have on the stage at all times. Uh, yeah, we have the most amazing, talented musicians right here in Sioux Falls.
Yes.
We do live music 5 nights a week. I mean, people ask all the time, is it hard to fill 5 nights a week of live music? And I'm like, no, that's the least of our worries. Like, there's
Mm.
so much talent just right here in Sioux Falls and the surrounding area. But now Trio is on the map. We're getting a lot of these jazz combos and quartets and quintets and visiting. There's a saxophonist from Germany coming. We're on the map. So when someone does a Midwest tour, Sioux Falls is now on that map. It used to be, they'd go down to Kansas City, Omaha, Fargo, Minneapolis. Well, now there's a spot to stop in between, and we have the privilege of hosting them.
Sioux Falls is no longer flyover country now that Trio is here.
Now, yeah, sure.
No, but I can attest to how incredible it is to see a show at Trio. It is unique and unlike any other experience. It's intimate. The acoustics are top notch. The talent every show I've been to is just it's so amazing. So congrats to you and the crew. And I highly encourage anyone who's listening to this to go listen to some live music at Trio. You will not regret it.
Thank you.
And comedy night. I went to a comedy night there and laughed my ass
Yeah.
off for a couple hours. So recommend that as well. But Ricardo, gearing up to the end here, tell me what motivates you in life? What gives you purpose? Maybe even mentioning a quote or a motto that you personally like to live by.
My I don't know. My motivation has always been my family. It's always been a drive to provide for them, and it goes back to your wife goes on bed rest. What do? You get a second job. We sold a car. We got rid of cable. Like we've always, as a couple, have always sacrificed to create a better life for our kids. And so for us, it's the ability. So we never imagined growing our businesses to this point, but now that we have, we're like, wow, like we're creating a legacy. Like we're creating this legacy that can be continued by our children and our children's children and our extended family. And yeah, we're extremely proud and with a lot of humility. Like we really can't believe the amount of support that we get on a daily basis at all of our locations. And we're extremely grateful. It's just from a grateful heart. So yeah, I think as far as a quote, my dad said to me a long time ago, he said life is like a sled dog team, and if you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. And that kind of stuck with me. And of course, you understand the metaphor that if you're the leader in your industry, like the scenery is always going to change because you're the one that's creating everyone else that's going to follow you. And we love innovating. We love being creative. We love challenging ourselves. People ask me all the time, "Oh, you worried about XYZ restaurant that just opened up, or did you hear that there's another Italian restaurant coming to town, or there's that?" And my reaction is always the same. I'm like, no, doesn't matter. My biggest competitor is me. Our biggest competitor is us. How much can we push ourselves so that our supposed competitors can't catch up? And
Mm.
that's just a philosophy that I've had for a long, long time. Um, yeah, a lot of it comes from coaching as well. I coached competitive soccer for many, many years with all three of our boys, and you have a lot of parallels between a soccer team and a restaurant team. Yeah, you have the right people in the right positions. We're all working together towards a common goal, and you win the game.
Mm, 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 mm.
You like that? Sorry, it's not a football analogy, but oh well.
It may as well be. It's football.
I know it's the same thing. Football, yeah, same thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's that's where the magic happens. You get everyone aligned around a common goal, that long-term vision, whether it's winning a championship, whether it's hitting $10 million in revenue in the next 10
Mhm.
years, and then all of your effort goes into focusing on achieving that together. And that goes back to the power of all rowing in the same direction, working towards that common goal. Like that is truly where the magic is. And so
Mhm.
I love that you have all 100 plus of your people rowing in that same direction, creating this atmosphere, this ambiance throughout all of your restaurants. It's magical,
Oh,
Ricardo,
thank
and
you.
I'm
That means a
thrilled to
lot.
yeah. Well, I'm thrilled to be friends with you and to have worked with you guys, and yeah, it's been fun watching you guys' growth. So my last question for you is we've already touched on it quite a bit, but what was it like? What did EOS do for you guys in regards to scaling? What was it like working with me as your implementer?
I mean, it was a dream, except for the early mornings. Yeah, we all struggle with that. We work in the restaurant industry, so we're a lot of us well, we're all night people. Uh no, I think the all day um EOS events were the most impactful because it really and offsite. It was really key to get away from the restaurants and not be, there's always interruptions. Of course, I'm sitting here at Trio, there's all windows, and I don't know if you noticed, but I'm like waving at people as they walk by because they're all peeking in and seeing what's going on at Trio Jazz Club on a Monday, even though we're closed, but they still want to see it, which is good. It's a good feeling. Um, but yeah, I think getting off site, so there's no interruptions, there's no comfort in sitting in one of our dining room chairs or in our own, comfortable ambiance. So yeah, so getting off site, I think we did the most work, most productive. In fact, we were just talking about doing another offsite with our leadership team because they also have the same feeling that, oh yeah, when we were offsite, remember all the stuff we got done? And I'm like, yeah, because we do get it's just natural interruptions or natural digressions as opposed to being offsite and like, "Okay, we're focused on these, five key issues. Let's get these figured out."
Hmm.
So yeah, no, we love it. What impressed me about you in particular is that you have zero restaurant experience, not just from not even working in restaurants, but working with restaurants in an EOS capacity. And I think you got a crash course in Restaurant 101 because you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that, didn't know that. And you very quickly like, assembled it all together for us. And it was really your, your line of questioning and your line of, and then what? And then what? Well, why? Why you like to ask why, right? And of course, it's a really good question to ask us because sometimes everyone looks at each other and they go, "Well, I don't know why are we doing that, or why aren't we doing it that way?" And so it came at the right time for us. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome. No, I appreciate that. It was an absolute blast, and like you said, the restaurant course 101, crash course.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I got to learn from the best. So,
you're
I mean,
sweet. Thank you.
that's what's fun about. EOS, right? Is this industry agnostic? I mean, when I
It
got
is.
into this, I never in a million years dreamt that I'd be working with a restaurant group and a restaurant owner like yourself. And it was just so cool as you guys being one of my first clients to see it EOS implemented in your guys' businesses and working just as good as it worked in the construction company or a manufacturing company, right? There are some tweaks that had to be made, but nonetheless, it worked wonders for you guys. So that was really cool.
Thank you.
But yeah. So anyway, Ricardo, appreciate you so much for being on the show. Um, I can't wait to come back to my next show at Trio. Um,
Yeah,
but in, but until then, my friend, take care. Ricardo, how can people learn more about you, learn more about the restaurants? Where do they follow you, etc.?
absolutely. Yeah. Any one of our websites, whether it's rwinebar.com, triojazzclub.com, Ciao Marabella, spelled CIAO.com, brickswine.bar, it's a little bit different, and then vespacatering.com. So those are our five websites. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Um, you can see our, hopefully you see a billboard here and there around Sioux Falls. We're trying that out for a little bit. Um, yeah, we're in the visitor guide. If you're visiting, or if you have a store or a restaurant or a hotel, those are always great things to hand out to guests and send them on their way to downtown.
All right. Awesome. Well, appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank,
We'll talk to you soon.
appreciate you. Sounds good. Thanks, Will.
All right. See ya.